and welcome to the Link Sports Show. I'm Elliot Hawkins, and joining me in the studio this evening are Link Sport reporters James Williams and Kieran Holmes. We start with Lincoln City, who suffered an FA Trophy semi-final first leg defeat away at York City on Tuesday evening. Lee Angle's penalty gave the Imps an early lead, which they took into half-time. But York netted two second-half goals to take a 2-1 advantage into this weekend's second leg. Here are Danny Cowley's thoughts on Tuesday's defeat.
We were pleased with our first half performance on Tuesday night. I thought we got to a really good level. I thought we moved the ball quickly, had a real energy about us, and had a good speed to our play. We were disappointed with our second half performance, and unfortunately we didn't come out second half. We made a few errors, few tactical errors, few technical errors, and that gave York away back into the game. Credit to them. I thought they did very well second half, and it's made it an interesting time.
So guys, you were both at the game on Tuesday night, and it was strange. We didn't quite see the same side in the second half to what we saw in the first half. What went wrong after half time?
It's a difficult one. I couldn't really put my finger on it. They were so dominant, Lincoln, in that first half. They could have scored 2 or 3 and had the tie wrapped up by half time. And it looked like the second half. I was talking to fans at half time and I was asking them, well, can City go on and get a second and a third goal and kill this off before Saturday's second leg? But the second half, York came out a different team. To give credit to York, they showed a lot of character and a lot of fight to get back into that match. But Lincoln just weren't the same team, and I'm not really sure why.
Like James said, it was very much a game of two halves. York were fantastic in the second half, but Lincoln looked a class above in the first. You started to think, if this is the two squads that Cowley can put out, then this is fantastic. He's got two squads worthy of being in League Two. But I think in the second half, it was that kind of experience that showed through. Etheridge in goal for Farman. I know Farman had to go out, obviously, because of the injection that he received, but you could tell that it was his inexperience that let that second goal in. He dived way too early, and I think Farman would have been saving that all day. We discussed Jamie McComb looked out of place in that team for the whole game.
To be fair to Jamie McComb, he hasn't played a lot this season, has he? And to put him into a game like that, he coped very well in the first half, but there were just moments in the second, and it wasn't just McComb. I think the whole team performance just wasn't at the same level, and York took advantage of that. And I think it was. Obviously, McComb is quite an experienced player, but generally it was quite a young team and quite an inexperienced team. And as Kieran said, I think that showed in the second half.
And he made 9 changes to the squad. Do you think that was the right decision?
Well, it was a decision he was very much forced into after the Arsenal game. You know, they're going to take a lot of stamina out of these boys when you're playing at Arsenal and top flight players, and these were players with pace, so it's going to cause a lot of problems. So he had to change things up for this York game. Unfortunately, it wasn't really the best game for these players to come into, obviously, with the importance of it to the team. But you've got to look at the positives, and they're not out of this tie yet. 2 more goals and they can still get through. They were lucky to get out of there with a 1-goal deficit by the end.
Yeah, it's all well and good us saying, oh, Danny Cowley could have done this or he could have done that. But at half-time, it was justified. They were winning 1-0 and they were completely in control. And Cowley would have been thinking, well, more of the same and this is great. And he trusts those fringe players, although a lot of them, would get into a lot of National League teams, the likes of Lee Angole, who I actually expect to start on Saturday alongside Matt Reed.
He did look a bright spark in the team.
Billy Knott had a great first half. Elliot Whitehouse, I was talking to people after the match, and it was one of the best games that we thought he'd had in a Lincoln City shirt. So there were some real good performances in there. Just as a collective in that second half, they struggled.
We'll have to wait and see. Because a win by 2 clear goals will see Lincoln head to Wembley for the final in May. And Cowley has emphasised just how important Saturday's game is.
It's an opportunity for us to get this wonderful football club to Wembley for the first time in its 133 years existence. So we don't need edge, we don't need motivation. We're fully focused. It's a great opportunity. There's a reason why this great football club has never been to Wembley, and that's because it's really difficult to get there. And when an opportunity presents itself, you've got to be big enough, you've got to be brave enough to try to grab it with both hands, and that's what we intend to do.
Given the magnitude of the game, Cowley says the support will play a huge part if Lincoln are to reach Wembley.
We'll need them to be right behind us. We'll need them to be really patient, because I think it's going to require us to be patient during the game. And really, we spoke about it this morning. It's just for us. it's a great opportunity to give our wonderful supporters some payback. You know, they've supported us, and the way they've supported us really touched our lives over recent weeks, and this is an opportunity for us to give them a trip to Wembley. I've heard that most of them enjoyed their day out to London last Saturday, so it'd be nice to give them another trip. And also for those supporters that weren't able to get tickets to the Emirates, it would be great if we could get to Wembley and have a few more tickets and be able to get everyone that has Lincoln City at their heart to that game to support us. But we have a really tough 90 minutes against a York team that are obviously resurgent under Gary Mills. They've had a really good run. They've been on playoff form. And it's going to be tough for us.
So guys, do you think Lincoln can overturn this 2-1 deficit?
I think they can. It's very much within their capabilities. We've seen Lincoln on their day can beat anyone in that league, and as Danny Cowley was saying at the press conference today, that Lincoln team don't fear anyone, especially after they've gone to Arsenal and given a very good account of themselves. Why should they fear anyone? York have been a bit of a bogey team the last couple of games for Lincoln. Obviously a few weeks ago at Sincil Bank they drew 1-1 and more than matched Lincoln in that game and then beat them on Tuesday evening. So if you're going on recent matches, you'd back York. But I look at Lincoln and I think with a full crowd at Sincil Bank behind them, with Danny Cowley surely going to name what he thinks is his strongest team, I think Lincoln can do it, yeah.
I agree with James, and I expect to see a much stronger team that goes out there, because for this kind of game they're going to need some grit in midfield. Your Alan Powers coming in, Matt Reed's up front that can get back into that position. But the problem that they are facing now is York can come back and they can come to Sincil Bank and sit back for the whole game and try and protect what they've got, and that's going to cause some problems. They've got creative players that can break through that, but it's going to make it difficult to get one goal, let alone two. So it is going to take a very strong side, but with the likes of Lee Angol impressing, Joe Ward had a really good game for me. I think that they can get through, and Whitehouse looked really creative too.
Yeah, I think the first goal is key.
Yeah,
at
it's
the
got
weekend.
to come early.
And it's got to come for Lincoln, because I think if York score first and then it's 3-1 on aggregate, Lincoln need to score 2 to take it to extra time and 3 to win. And just the pressure will crank up a bit on the Lincoln team. The home fans, understandably, will get a bit frustrated because Wembley is in touching distance. And when you're so close to reaching a major final at Wembley, which for Lincoln this is a big final, this is bigger than the FA Cup in many people's eyes, you want to get there. So it's a big game for Lincoln. As Danny Cowley said, it's probably the biggest of the season. I can't think of a bigger game. Arsenal was a special occasion. This Saturday is a big game for Lincoln's season. We'll have to see.
We kind of touched on it a bit a minute ago, but do you expect Cowley to play a full-strength side on Saturday? Yeah,
I'd expect so. I mean, there's no reason not to now. He's given all the players that needed a rest after Arsenal a well-needed rest, so you'd expect a lot of them to come back into the first side. However, there are some players that gave a good account of themselves in that game, so you would expect that you'd have to look at them. The likes of Lee Angol, Billy Knott did have a good first half. Elliot Whitehouse looked really good creatively. Just getting the ball down and getting it out of danger and then just driving forward with it looked really impressive. So these are players that he can now consider if he needs to give an extra rest to a player, because this is their 47th. This will be their 48th game of the season, which for any team is ludicrous. So even with a squad as big as his, it's going to be hard, but at least he can look at those players and go, we can use a couple of them.
I just think Tuesday they play Bournemouth away in the league, so I don't know whether Cowley's mind might slightly be on that, because obviously they're fighting for the National League title and promotion. But this, as I've said, is a big game, and I do expect him to play his big game players. Nathan Arnold, I expect to start. Matt Reed should come back into the side. Alex Woodyard will certainly start. The two centre-backs, Sean Raggett and Luke Waterfall, probably come back into the side. If Farman's fit, he'll play. So there's a couple of positions, maybe the left wing. We don't know who might start there. Will it be Terry Hawkridge, or will it be someone like Joe Ward or Gianelli that played on Tuesday? In central midfield, partly in Alex Woodyard, will it be Alan Power back in the side, or will it be someone like Elliot Whitehouse or Billy Knott? They're probably the two positions which I'd say we're not sure about. But up front, definitely Reed and Angol. I think Angol's the man in form and Reed is Lincoln's main man up front. So I'd expect those two to start, and it'll be interesting to see those two, because we haven't seen those two really as a partnership yet, apart from the last 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes against Braintree the other week. So a lot of unanswered questions going into Saturday's game, but it will be interesting for us and for Lincoln fans to see.
Definitely, let's hope for a big performance on Saturday and we'll see how it goes. Meanwhile, Lincoln United's 8-match unbeaten streak was ended by Market Drayton last weekend. The Whites lost 2-1 away from home, with Lincoln's only goal coming from James Blunden. Sam Wilkinson's side now sits 6 points outside the playoffs, with games in hand over 3 of the teams above them. So guys, a while back we were saying about all these games in hand that Lincoln United have. Look where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying, they're not winning enough of them, they're not making use of them, and now, look, it's come back to bite us. They're 6 points away from the playoffs, the same position that we all wrote them off from a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's testament to them, really. They've managed to get a good winning run together, but unfortunately, Market Drayton's got to be a disappointing result.
It's a frustrating defeat, that.
But they've got to make sure that they don't do what they've done in the past, where if they lose one, they lose about 3 or 4, and they've got to make sure that this is a one-off and that they can continue into that winning form. There's no reason why not. The players are in good form. They've had a slip-up. It was only 2-1. So I don't see any reason why this has to be a turning point again.
Yeah, we've spoken about them a lot. They've got goals in their team. Jack McGovern, Connor Robinson are the 2 key players up front, and if they keep scoring, Lincoln United will keep winning. I know they lost Michael Jacklin to Gainsborough Trinity at the end of last month, I think now, but it doesn't seem to have affected them too much. Yes, Saturday was a disappointment, but everyone has blips. It's important the way they respond now, and well, you never know. The playoffs are out of sight. I remember around this time last year was when they really started a charge for promotion. I wouldn't put it past them doing it again.
What would you say a realistic expectation is for Lincoln United this season in terms of where they're going to finish?
At the start of the season, I think it would have been everyone had expected playoffs again, at least. But after the blip in form they had over Christmas, it had to be, just to solidify, get a solid place in the mid-table, get through to next season, and charge next season. But the fact that they're in this position now, I think most Lincoln United fans would be happy to see them climb back up the table and start challenging for that promotion spot.
I think take into account the FA Cup run they had as well, which was a really good FA Cup run and went on quite a while. I think that obviously led to them having then games to catch up on, which hasn't helped. So it's been a successful season in that respect because the money they've gained from that FA Cup run will do the club a lot of good and help them surely in future seasons. Obviously, they're not in the playoffs at the moment, which is where they might have wanted to have been, but they're in and around it. And you never know this season, and if they don't make it this season, Sam Wilkinson's got 1 season under his belt as manager, and I reckon they'll give it a good push next season.
Yeah, well, we look forward to see what happens in the coming weeks. And in national news, England boss Gareth Southgate has named his squad for his side's upcoming international games. The 3 Lions face Germany away in a friendly on March the 22nd. And then take on Lithuania in a World Cup qualifier 4 days later. Guys, there are some surprising inclusions in the squad. We've got Jermaine Defoe, Jake Livermore, James Ward-Prowse, some people that we wouldn't really expect to be in the squad. What do you make of those decisions from Southgate?
I can understand some of them, and a couple of them I think, really? Jermaine Defoe, scoring goals, why not? He's the form player.
Especially with the chances he's given to be able to convert that amount of chances into goals, you can't look past him, really.
Jake Livermore is an interesting one for me. I'm not quite convinced on that. I mean, he was having an okay season at Hull, got his move to West Brom, but is he really an England player?
He played against Italy in 2012.
Well, that says it all. This is 5 years ago now. There's a reason why Jake Livermore hasn't broken into that England team. I'm not sure, but if he's playing well enough, then he deserves his call up. But I'm not sure really he's an England player that going forward we'll see. But people do ask for players to be called up on form, and that's what Gareth Southgate's done. But then you look at Theo Walcott being left out, and he has been in good form recently and this season, and he's not been called up to the squad. So that's where again I begin to think, where's common sense? And especially as England are struggling for strikers at the moment with Harry Kane's injury, no Wayne Rooney in the squad. So you've just got Vardy, Rashford and Defoe. Surely Walcott deserves to be in there as well.
Yeah, you would have thought Walcott, given his form for Arsenal, especially in the FA Cup this season.
Yeah, he's been fantastic in the FA Cup.
Lincoln know that.
Yeah, unfortunately to Lincoln's expense. But yeah, you'd think that if they are calling them up on form, then Walcott should be in it. Usually, it's with Walcott, it's the opposite way around. He's usually getting calls up when people don't really think he deserves it. But all in all, apart from that kind of striking one, Jake Livermore being a little bit of a surprise, I quite agree with most of them. Michael Keane, I think, has been fantastic this season. Real bright spark in the Premier League. Real promising English player. I mean, there's talks of him going back to Manchester United, which just says it all, really.
And we saw Michael Keane when he played for Burnley against Lincoln City, and not a lot of players impressed for Burnley that day. But I was impressed with Michael Keane, and he's been consistent for Burnley all season. And I think that is a deserved call-up and a good call-up, and credit to Southgate for that.
Talking about defenders, Luke Shaw, around, I think he's had two appearances since December. What do you make of his inclusion?
It would have been a surprise if it wasn't for the fact that Danny Rose is injured. Obviously, Danny Rose has got to be your first choice left back. The fact that would I say Luke Shaw's second best? I probably would. You know, he's pushed out quite a strong, I'd say strong, Manchester United defence. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's too much of a surprise. I think they're dealing with what they've got at the moment, and you know, he should come into the side and possibly prove to Mourinho that he deserves a place in that squad.
All I'd say with Luke Shaw is he just seems to be going the same way as Jack Wilshere to me. Making some good strides, good improvement, looking a good player, then gets an injury, then disappears off the face of the earth for a few weeks or a few months. And then we do the cycle again, but always manages to get into the England squad. And we have this debate with Jack Wilshere, and now we seem to always be having it with Luke Shaw. He needs to kick on in his Manchester United career, or he needs to move. Either way, before we even consider him as an England international, because I think Danny Rose is streets ahead at the moment in that left back
We are
position.
limited in left backs though. If you look away from Danny Rose and Luke Shaw, we are limited.
Ryan Bertrand's very consistent for Southampton, playing all the time. I'd take him over Luke Shaw at the moment, purely because he's got some more experience, more games under his belt at the moment. As I say, if Luke Shaw wants to kick on, he needs to be playing games, and he's not doing that at the moment.
Right, let's touch on Mikel Antonio. He's in the squad again, still uncapped though. Can you see him getting a chance in the coming days?
Maybe against Germany in the friendly. Again, is he another one that I can see going forward really is going to be part of Gareth Southgate's plans? I'm not sure. He's been playing very well for West Ham. He's had a good season. He had a good season last year, and he's a good player. Is he good enough to get into the England team? I don't know, but then who is? What's England's identity? We could have this whole debate.
Well, we've still got to wait and see what Gareth Southgate's idea is. The one thing that we can take from the squad is it is very youthful. You know, apart from a couple of names in there, Joe Hart, Jermaine Defoe's, it's quite a young squad. So whether or not he's looking at that, and you know, obviously his academy days, whether he's looking at that and trying to put that into place in the football and bring up a new squad of his own, we'll have to wait and see. But we've got to wait and see what the identity of Gareth Southgate is going to be.
I just think the problem with England though goes deeper than just picking the squad, and we always debate the squads each time. Gareth Southgate now with this England team, he's got the permanent job. He needs to develop a system that he wants them to play in. He needs to play players in their preferred and correct positions. Make common sense decisions, for goodness sake. No Harry Kane taking corners. And then we might see an England team that performs at the top of their game, and then we shouldn't have to keep debating the squad all the time, because that's just the surface. There's problems underneath that, which is why England aren't succeeding.
Maybe you should be the next England manager.
You never know. Danny Cowley, maybe.
You never know. Well, Danny Cowley, yeah. You never know.
Good a name as anyone.
That's all we've got time for this week. Thanks to James and Kieran for joining me. We'll be back next week, but until then you can keep up with the latest sports news in Lincoln by following us on Twitter @LinkSport. Goodbye.